What's up, everybody? We are back. Episode 7. Yeah, that's right. That's God's favorite number. Number 7. That's also my favorite number. You know, 7 is also my birthday. So, yes, go. Hey, man. So, I just want to say thank y'all for supporting me, for getting this far. You know, a lot of times people be done dropped off by now. But y'all keep me going, and my goal is to keep y'all going. So we're going to keep going together. We're going to keep reading together. So now, I just want to get straight into it, man. We're on chapter 38, Genesis. Can you believe we done read that much till we already on chapter 38? Come on, man. That ain't nothing but God right there. So I just want to say I appreciate y'all for all the support. Like, subscribe, and follow the YouTube page. If you're listening to this on a streaming service, whatever streaming service you're listening to it on, make sure you follow it, okay? That's how you get all notifications when a new episode drop. So if you haven't by now, follow the Instagram. The Instagram is ways.of.unity. If you want to follow my personal page, it's DOM_Lee7. So that's my personal Instagram page. But I just want to say I appreciate you guys. This has been a good journey for me so far, and I'm proud to be doing this with y'all. All right. Now, like always, before we read, we got to always say it with a prayer. And we're going to do my favorite prayer, the Lord's Prayer. So let's get straight into it. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, that will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive our trespasses, and we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. It's thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. All right. So, like I said, we're starting off with Genesis 38. And with that being said, I am reading let me make sure I say this right, the Legacy Standard Bible. That's the translation that I'm reading. You can read whatever translation that you want to read. All right. So we're going to get straight into it. Genesis 38. All right. Verse 1. Now it happened at the time that Judah went down from his brothers and turned aside to a certain Aldamite, whose name was Hira. And Judah saw there a daughter of a certain Canaanite whose name was Shua. And he took her and went into her. So she conceived and bore a son, and he named him Er. Then she conceived again and bore a son, and she named him Onan. And she bore still another son, and she named him Shelah. And it was at Shezib that she bore him. Then Judah took a wife for Er, his firstborn, and her name was Tamar. But Er, Judah's firstborn, was evil in the sight of Yahweh. So Yahweh put him to death. Whoa. See, God putting babies down early. He said, nah, we ain't want that one. Put that one back. And then Judah said to Onan, go into your brother's wife, whoa, and perform your duty as a brother-in-law to her, and raise up a seed for your brother. And Onan knew that the seed would not be his. And it happened that when he went into his brother's wife, he wasted it on the ground in order to not give seed to his brother. But what he did was displeasing in the sight of Yahweh. So he put him to death also. Man, God putting to death for him not wanting to concede to his brother's wife? Ooh, boy, ain't we glad we don't live in the Old Testament times. Let's keep going. Then Judah said to his daughter-in-law, Tamar, live as a widow in your father's house until my son Shelah grows up. For he thought, I am afraid lest he's also die like his brothers. So Tamar went and lived in her father's house. And after a considerable time, Shaw's daughter, the wife of Judah, died. Then Judah was comforted, and he went up to his sheep shearers at Timnah. He and his friend Hira, the Aldamite, Then it was told to Tamar, behold, your father-in-law is going up to Timnah to shear his sheep. So she removed her widow's garments from herself and covered herself with a veil and wrapped herself. And she sat at the entrance of Anemon, which is on the road to Timnah. For she saw that Shelah had grown up and she had not been given to him as a wife. Then Judah saw her, and he thought, she was a harlot, for she had covered her face. So he turned aside to her by the road and said, here now, let me come into you. For he did not know that she was his daughter-in-law. And she said, what will you give me, that you may come into me? He said, therefore I will send you a young goat from the flock. She said, moreover, will you give a pledge until you send it? Then he said, what pledge shall I give you? And she said, your signet and your cord and your staff that is in your hand. So he gave them to her and went in to her, and she conceived by him. Then she arose and went, and she removed her veil from herself and put on her widow's garment. Then Judah sent the young goat by his friend, the Aldermite, to take the pledge from the woman's hand, but he did not find her. So he asked the man of her place, saying, where is the colt prostitute who was by the road at Anemon? But they said, there has been no colt prostitute here. So he returned to Judah and said, I did not find her. And furthermore, the men of the place said, there has been no colt prostitute here. Then Judah said, let her keep them, lest we become a laughing stock. Behold, I sent this young goat, but you did not find her. So the daughter-in-law pretty much set herself up to where they thought that she was a prostitute. Well, Judah thought so. And yeah, she ended up having that baby. Well, she got conceived for the baby. We got to read further to see if she ended up having the baby. All right, verse 24. Now it happened about 3 months later that it was told to Judah, saying, your daughter-in-law Tamar has played the harlot, and behold, she is also with child by harlotry. Then Judah said, bring her out and let her be burned. It was while she was being brought out that she sent to her father-in-law, saying, I am with child by the man whom these things belong. And she said, please recognize this and see, whose signet, ring, and cords and staff are these? And Judah recognized them and said, she is more righteous than I, inasmuch as I did not give her to my son Shelah, and he did not know her again. Now it happened at the time she was giving birth, that behold, there were twins in her womb. And it happened while she was giving birth, one put out a hand, and the midwife took and tied a scarlet thread on his hand, saying, this one came out first. And then it happened as he drew back his hand, and that behold, his brother came out. So she said, what a breach you have made for yourself. So he was named Perez. Afterward, his brother came out who had the scarlet thread on his hand, and he was named Zerah. So Judah was about to kill the girl, and she had his belongings. He's like, oh, wait a minute, I messed up. This is the girl that I was dealing with that I couldn't find. Let her live. See how the way this goes, man? It's a lot of sneaking around in the Old Testament. A lot of tricks being played. Let's keep going. Now Joseph was brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an Egyptian official of Pharaoh, the captain of the bodyguard, bought him from the Ishmaelites who had brought him down there. And Yahweh was with Joseph. So he became a successful man. And he was in the house of his master, the Egyptian. Now his master saw that Yahweh was with him, and how Yahweh caused all that he did to succeed in his hand. So Joseph found favor in his sight, and attended on him. And he appointed him overseer over his house, and all that he owned he gave in his hand. Now it happened that from the time he appointed him overseer in his house, and over all that he owned, Yahweh blessed the Egyptian's house on the account of Joseph. Thus the blessing of Yahweh was upon all that he owned, in the house and in the field. So he left everything he owned in Joseph's hand. And with him there, he did not concern himself with anything except the food which he ate. Now Joseph was beautiful in form and beautiful in appearance. And it happened after these events that his master's wife set her eyes on Joseph and said, "Lie with me." But he refused and said to his master's wife, "Behold, with me here my master does not concern himself with anything in the house, and he has given all that he owns into my hand. There is no one greater in this house than I, and he was withheld nothing from me except you, because you are his wife. How then could I do this great evil and sin against God?" So it happened that as she spoke to Joseph day after day, he did not listen to her, lie beside her, or be with her. Now it happened one day that he went into the house to do his work, and none of the men of the household was there inside. Then she seized him by his garment, saying, "Lie with me." And he left his garment in her hand and fled and went outside. Now it happened when she saw that he had left his garment in her hand and had fled outside, that she called to the men of her household and spoke to them, saying, "See, he has brought in a Hebrew to us to laugh at us. He came in to me to lie with me, and I screamed." Man, let's start right there. What is with these women in the Old Testament with all this deceiving? Ooh, boy, y'all women, boy, y'all know how to catch a brother. She's setting him up. Let's keep reading. All right. Where are we? Oh, okay, verse 15. Now, it happened that when he heard that I raised my voice and screamed, he left his garment beside me and fled and went outside. And she placed his garment beside her until his master came home. Then she spoke to him with these words, saying, "The Hebrew slave whom you brought to us came into me to laugh at me. And as I raised my voice and screamed, he left his garment beside me and fled outside." Now, it happened that when his master heard the words of his wife, which she spoke to him, saying, "This is what your slave did to me," his anger burned. So Joseph's master took him and put him into jail, the place where the king's prisoners were confined, and he was there in the jail. But Yahweh was with Joseph and extended love and kindness to him and gave him favor in the sight of the chief jailer. So the chief jailer gave into the hand of Joseph all the prisoners who were in the jail, so that whatever was done there, he was the one who did it. The chief jailer did not supervise anything under Joseph's hand because Yahweh was with him. And whatever he did, Yahweh made to succeed. Now, stop there for a second. Joseph was sold by his brothers, as we previously read, and he became a slave, in Egypt. And then the Pharaoh's wife tried to come on to him. He was like, "Nah, ain't with that." But she kept his garment, and now he in jail. But see, the good thing about God is God loves Joseph. God said, "Don't worry about it. Wherever you go, I'm gonna be with you." So they threw him in jail. Joseph said, well, not Joseph, the chief jailer saw that Joseph is with God. Yahweh is on his side. So Joseph got favor in wherever he's doing. Let's keep going and see how Joseph continues to maneuver in this jailhouse. All right. Now we're on chapter 40. We're moving pretty quick, guys. Chapter 40, verse 1. Now it happened after these things that the cupbearer and the baker for the king of Egypt offended their lord, the king of Egypt. And Pharaoh was furious with his two officials, the chief cupbearer and the chief baker. So he put them in confinement in the house of the captain of the bodyguard and in jail, the same place where Joseph was in prison. And the captain of the bodyguard appointed Joseph as overseer over them, and he attended to them, and they were in confinement for some time. Then the cupbearer and the baker for the king of Egypt, who were confined in jail, both had a dream the same night, each man with his own dream, and each dream with his own interpretation. Now Joseph came to them in the morning and saw them, and behold, they were dejected. So he asked Pharaoh's officials, who were with him in confinement in his master's house, saying, why are your faces so sad today? Then they said to him, we have had a dream, and there is no one to interpret it. Then Joseph said to them, do not interpretations belong to God? Recount it to me, please. So the chief cupbearer recounted his dream to Joseph and said to him, in my dream, behold, there was a vine in front of me, and on the vine were 3 branches, and it was budding. Its blossoms came out, and its clusters produced ripe grapes. Now Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, so I took the grapes and squeezed them into the Pharaoh's cup, and I put the cup into Pharaoh's hand. Then Joseph said to him, this is the interpretations of it. The 3 branches are 3 days. Within 3 more days, Pharaoh will lift up your head and restore you to your office, and you will put Pharaoh's cup into his hand according to your former custom when you were his cupbearer. Only remember me when it goes well with you, and please show me love kindness by remembering me to Pharaoh and getting me out of this house. For I was in fact stolen from the land of the Hebrews, and even here I have done nothing that they should have put me into the pit. So Joseph, he interpreting dreams, and what he's saying is, look, I'm telling you what this means, but at the same time, please do not forget about me. I do not belong in this jail. All right, let's keep going. Verse 16. And the chief baker saw that he had interpreted favorably. So he said to Joseph, I also saw in my dream, and behold, there were 3 baskets of white bread on my head. And in the top basket, there were some of all sorts of baked food for Pharaoh. And the birds was eating them out of the basket on my head. Then Joseph answered and said, this is his interpretations. The 3 baskets are 3 days. Within 3 more days, Pharaoh will lift up your head off of you and will hang you on the tree, and the birds will eat your flesh off of you. Oh, shoot, this dude finna die. Thus it happened on the 3rd day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, that he made a feast for all his servants, and he lifted up the head of the chief cupbearer and the head of the chief baker among his servants. And he restored the chief cupbearer to his office, and he put the cup into Pharaoh's hand. But he hanged the chief baker, just as Joseph had interpreted. Yet the chief cupbearer did not remember Joseph, but forgot him. Wow. So the chief cupbearer got out of jail and said, man, I'm out, I'm free. And forgot all about Joseph, man. Poor Joseph. Hey. Well, I don't even know what to say about that. But we know Joseph was right. We do know Joseph is with the Lord. Now that we can say. Maybe later on we'll see if they saved Joseph. Let's keep going. Chapter 41. Now it happened at the end of 2 full years that Pharaoh had a dream. And behold, he was standing by the Nile, and behold, from the Nile there came up 7 cows, sleek and fat, and they grazed in the reeds. Then behold, 7 other cows came up after them from the Nile, ugly and thin, and they stood up by other cows on the bank of the Nile, and the ugly and thin cows ate up the 7 sleek and fat cows. Excuse me. Then Pharaoh awoke. He again fell asleep and dreamed a second time. And behold, 7 ears of grain came up on a single stalk, plump and good. And behold, 7 ears, thin and scorched by the east wind, sprouted up after them. And the thin ears swallowed up the 7 plump and full ears. Then Pharaoh awoke, and behold, it was a dream. Now it happened that in the morning his spirit was troubled. So he sent and called for all the magicians of Egypt and all his wise men, and Pharaoh recounted to them his dream. But there was no one who could interpret them to Pharaoh. Then the chief cupbearer spoke to Pharaoh, saying, I will bring to remembrance today my own offenses. Pharaoh was furious with his servants, and he put me in confinement in the house of the captain of the bodyguard, both me and the chief baker. And when we had a dream on the same night, he and I, each of us, dreamed according to the interpretation of his own dream. Now there was with us a Hebrew youth, a slave of the captain of the bodyguard, and we recounted them to him, and he interpreted our dreams for us. To each one he interpreted according to his own dream. And just as he interpreted for us, so it happened. He restored me in my office, but he hanged him. Aha! Joseph is now remembered. It only took 2 years, just 2 years to remember Joseph sitting in that jail, man. It's a shame. Then Pharaoh sent and called for Joseph, and they rushed him out of the pit. And he shaved himself and changed his clothes. And he came to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, I have had a dream, but no one can interpret it. Yet I have heard it said about you that you hear a dream and that you can interpret it. Joseph then answered Pharaoh, saying, It is not in me. God will answer concerning the welfare of Pharaoh. So Pharaoh spoke to Joseph, and in my dream, behold, I was standing on the bank of the Nile, and behold, 7 cows, fat and sleek, came up out of the Nile, and they grazed in the reeds. And behold, 7 other cows came up after them, poor and very ugly and lean, such as I had never seen in all of the land of Egypt. In regard to the ugliness, and the lean and ugly cows ate up the first 7 fat cows, but they devoured them. And yet it could not be known that they had devoured them, for they were just as ugly as before. Then I awoke. Then I also saw in my dream, and behold, 7 ears, full and good, came up on a single stalk. And behold, 7 ears, withered, thin, and scorched by the east wind, sprouted up after them. And the thin ears swallowed the 7 good ears. So I told it to the magicians, but there was no one who can declare it to me. Because they magicians. They not God. Let's keep going. And then Joseph said to Pharaoh, Pharaoh's dreams are one and the same. God has declared to Pharaoh what he is about to do. The 7 good cows are 7 years, and the 7 good ears are 7 years. The dreams are one and the same. And the 7 lean and ugly cows that came up after them are 7 years. And the 7 lean ears, scorched by the east wind, will be the 7 years of famine. It is I have spoken to Pharaoh. God has shown to Pharaoh what he is about to do. Behold, 7 years of great abundance are coming in all of the land of Egypt. And after them, 7 years of famine will arise, and all the abundance will be forgotten in the land of Egypt, and famine will ravage the land. Let's stop there real quick. So, with that being said, the Pharaoh don't even believe in Yahweh. But because the Pharaoh has a great servant of Yahweh sitting inside his land, he's giving Pharaoh pretty much a blessing because he wants Joseph to stand out. He wants Joseph to be somebody that's on top. That's how much favored. So sometimes people can get blessings from being around or having possession of something that God really loves. That's deep, yo. That is deep. Let's keep going. so that the abundance will be unknown in the land because of the subsequent famine, for it will be very heavy. Now, as for the repeating of the dream to Pharaoh twice, it means that the matter is confirmed by God, and God will quickly bring about it. So now let Pharaoh look for a man understanding and wise, and set him over the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh take action and appoint overseers over the land, and let him exact a fifth of the produce of the land of Egypt in the 7 years of abundance. Then let him gather all the food of these good years that are coming, and let them store up the grain for food in the cities under Pharaoh's authority, and let them keep watch over it. And let the food be appointed for the land for the 7 years of famine which will happen in the land of Egypt, so that the land will be not cut off during the famine. So now Joseph is pretty much getting appointed over Egypt. See that? God put Joseph, he took Joseph from being sold by his brothers to being put in jail to now being put in a leadership position over Egypt. Man, God is great. So sometimes even when you stuck and you see it, everything just bad, everything seems bad. But when you got favor, when God got favor in you, look, Joseph had to wait 2 years for this. Now he was sitting in prison, and he did this, you know, for the cupbearer, and he forgot all about him. It took 2 years to be sitting in that prison for Joseph to be remembered. So sometimes, you know, it's not our time, it's God's timing. Joseph sat there patient, and now Joseph's sitting at the top. So whatever you going through, just be patient. Keep God first and keep God in your favor, because he's going to give you back that favor. Let's keep going. Verse 37. And the proposals seemed good to Pharaoh and to all his servants. Then Pharaoh said to his servants, can we find a man like this, and who is a divine spirit? So Pharaoh said to Joseph, since God has made you know all of this, there is no one so understanding and wise as you are. You shall be over my house, and according to your command, all my people should do homage. Only in the throne I will be greater than you. See? Stop right there for a second. Pharaoh is saying, you are over everything and anything. I am your only boss. You take control of everything. I'm telling you, man. So even the Pharaoh knows, like, hey, I don't believe in what you believe in, but at the same time, I'm putting my trust in you, because your God is clearly a good God. All right. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, see if I have set you over all the land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh removed his signet ring from his hand and put it on Joseph's hand, and clothed him in garments of fine linen, and put the gold necklace around his neck. And he had him ride in the second chariot, and they called out before him, bow the knee, and he set him over all the land of Egypt. Moreover, Pharaoh said to Joseph, though I am Pharaoh, yet without your permission, no one shall raise his hand or foot in all the land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh named Joseph Sampanath Paneah, and he gave him Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of On, as a wife. And Joseph went forth over the land of Egypt. Now Joseph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And Joseph went out from the presence of Pharaoh and passed through all the land of Egypt. And during the 7 years, plenty the land brought forth abundantly. So he gathered all the food of these 7 years which happened in the land of Egypt. And he placed the food in the cities. He placed in every city the food from his own surrounding fields. Thus Joseph stored up grain in great abundance, like the sand of the sea, until it stopped measuring it, for it was beyond measure. Now, before the year of famine came, 2 sons were born to Joseph. One who Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of On, bore to him. And Joseph named the firstborn Manasseh, for he said, God has made me forget all my trouble in all my father's household. And he named the second Ephraim, for he said, God has made me fruitful in the land of my affliction. Then the 7 years of plenty which had been in the land of Egypt came to an end. The 7 years of famine began to come, just as Joseph had said. So there was famine in all the lands, but in all the land of Egypt there was bread. Then all the land of Egypt was famished, and the people cried out to Pharaoh for bread. And Pharaoh said to all the Egyptians, Go to Joseph, whatever he says to you, you shall do. Now the famine was over all the face of the land, and Joseph opened all the storehouses and sold to the Egyptians. And the famine was severe in the land of Egypt. Now all the earth also came to Egypt to buy grain from Joseph, because the famine was severe in all the earth. Man. So, we're going to stop there for today, man. This is the last episode. Well, not the last episode. Forgive me, guys. This is the last chapter that we're going to read for this episode. So, let's do a recap, all right? So, we found out that Judah ended up getting his daughter-in-law pregnant, right? Sad story how she set him up. You know, she put the veil over her face and pretty much deceived her father-in-law, right? And when the father-in-law found out, well, before he found out, he was told to him that, you know, she was pregnant. Pretty much, she did all that out of wedlock. She's supposed to have a baby by his son, right? So he was like, we're going to put her to death. But he left the things that he, you know, was supposed to give to the prostitute, which so he thought. And she said, I'm carrying the child, the man that who this stuff belongs to. So when he saw it, he was like, oh, that's my stuff. Leave her alone. Leave her alone. All right? Leave her alone. This is my wrongdoing. So she saved her own life by keeping his stuff. And Joseph, you know, he was a slave. He got sold by his brothers, you know, ended up in Egypt. And he was just working, doing minding his business. But the wife of the Pharaoh, you know, she tried to, you know, try to do something with him. He's like, don't leave me alone. But she got a hold of his garment, right? She lied on him and said, the man with this garment right here, this man laughed at me. You know, he came in here to pick on me and do whatever, right? So he got put in jail. So Joseph then, now he's sitting in jail. He like, man, I don't even belong here. But something happens. The cupbearer and the baker, they do something wrong, right? Pharaoh throw them in jail. Now, but before that, I'm going to a little bit too fast. Joseph get appointed by the chief jailer to be, you know, over pretty much all the inmates and everything that goes on in there, right? So when the cupbearer and the baker come in there, he's over them too. Now, but see, now these two end up having a dream, right? They both end up having separate dreams, and they struggling because they don't know how to interpret the dreams. Nobody can do it for them. So Joseph said, I got you. All right. So Joseph interpreted the baker's dream. Well, no, he did the cupbearer first. Cupbearer had a dream, you know, he had the grapes, you know, squeezing the grape juice and cup and whatever. He said in 3 days, you good. You're gonna be good. All right. Now the baker, he interpreted his dream. He told him pretty much, man, you're gonna die. This is it for you. When you get out of here, he gonna hang you. You out of here. And this exact things happened when those two got out. But Joseph told them, at least the cupbearer, don't forget my name. Don't forget about me. When the Pharaoh come get you, do not forget about me. All right. So now Pharaoh gets them out. He hangs Buddy. He hangs the baker. Baker out of here. Cupbearer. Everything happening that Joseph said was going to happen, it happened. But he forgot about Joseph. It took 2 years before Joseph get remembered, because what ended up happening is the Pharaoh ended up having dreams. And he gets everybody he can to interpret these dreams. Magicians, anybody that he can think of, he got them, and nobody could interpret the dreams. But then that's when the cupbearer remembered Joseph, right? So finally, 2 years later, the cupbearer gets Joseph. Well, the Pharaoh sends for Joseph. Joseph interpreted the dreams, right? And now when Joseph interpreted the dreams, Pharaoh has found favor on him now. Now Pharaoh is like, because you did this, you know what I'm saying? You're going to be over all of Egypt. You are in charge of everything. I am the only one who's above you. Everything goes through you. So he pretty much, the famine was coming. 7 years of good stuff and 7 years of bad stuff. So Joseph had to pretty much break down everything that was going to be put up for the 7 bad years. So towards the end, it also said how in the chapter 41, it says how all of earth pretty much needed. The famine hit all of earth. So now Joseph is selling grain and everything because of his dreams. So everybody else knowing them 7 years around the earth, they just living life, right? But Joseph knowing this famine is coming. So he's putting up. He's storing to where it's a bunch of it. He just got so much of it, he can just start selling it now. So now the Egyptians are making money now, right? So that's pretty much the recap of what we read today. If I missed anything, please, if you're watching this on YouTube, comment. Tell me what you heard with your interpretation of what I read. You know what I'm saying? That you read with me. Comment below. Let's have a discussion. If you follow the Instagram page, comment on the Instagram page. All right, ways.of.unity. Comment. All right. So please like, share, subscribe, invite your friends, invite your family, your brothers, your sisters, anybody who may be struggling with reading the Bible. As you can tell, I'm not really that good at reading the Bible either. A lot of these names I can't even pronounce. But guess what? We gonna read and God will provide. All right. So I just want to tell y'all, man, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. All right. Say your prayers. Stay vigilant. Stay focused, and know that no matter where you sitting in life, just like Joseph, sitting in a dark time, Joseph gets sold by his brothers and being put in jail for being lied on by somebody's wife. Took 2 years for him to finally get out of that little hole that he was in, and now he's the head man in charge underneath the Pharaoh. God can do just like that for you. But we on God's time. Joseph probably was sitting there just twisting his fingers, man, like, man, buddy forgot all about me. But he had to stay patient, right? So wherever you sitting at in life, just stay patient. God got y'all. All right, man. Till next time. Peace.